Join me today for a BattleTech book review, A Question of Survival by Bryan Young. This is the Geek Ball channel. My name is Bobbie. Today we're going to be doing a book review for the BattleTech novel A Question of Survival by Bryan Young. So I'll try to give some thoughts on the book before I go into spoilers here, for those who want to avoid spoilers. I like the book overall. That's not to say there's any major complaints or anything. There's not, just probably bad phrasing. I like the book. Okay. It took me a while to read it. That was mainly due to factors beyond the book. I don't think the book was slow or anything. I just had a bit of an issue trying to get up the will to read anything. It wasn't just this book, so I'm in the middle of reading like 5 different books. And once I got past about page 100, like whatever mental jam I had disappeared, and I blew through the rest of the book. So yeah, like I said, overall, I thought it was a well-written book. Some interesting characters. It is entirely from the perspective of characters belonging to either the Clan Jade Falcon or Clan Ghost Bear. I don't know if there was a single... No, there was one civilian in the Rasselhag Dominion. I think, for like a page. So, but essentially, all the characters are clan characters. This does take place in the IlClan era. And the events in here, I believe, are covered in some of the source books. I haven't gotten around to reading Dominion Divided, but I believe that's where some of the stuff for the Ghost Bears takes place. And then a lot of this, then some of the setup, because this takes place in the area at the moment is known as the Hinterlands. So I assume the Hotspots Hinterlands book covers part of this, but I don't have the book yet, so I couldn't tell you. However, the Tamar Rising source book does cover the various Jade Falcon factions. That's kind of a big part of what's going on here. So, yeah, it's about as far as I can go without really getting into spoilers. Like I said, I thought it was well written, decent characters, decent action, interesting plot, some interesting perspectives, and yeah, I mean it's essentially a new day for the Jade Falcons now that Malvina Hazen is dead. Spoiler alert for the end of the final battle for it all on Terra. I've actually done a couple reviews that talk about that. Hour of the Wolf is the big one. So she's gone, and I can remember it's Chistu. I keep wanting to say Chitsu. It's Chistu, Chistu, Gejayi. Is now the Khan of the Jade Falcons, since he's, I think, the last blood-named warrior left in the Jade Falcon territory. So, yeah, it's kind of up to him to try to rebuild the Jade Falcons. And that is what he is trying to do throughout the book. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's about as far as I can go without spoilers. So, overall, I recommend the book. I've read one other book by Bryan Young. There's another Jade Falcon book. I don't remember what it was right off the top of my head. But I thought it was also decently written. Well written. I shouldn't say decently. I shouldn't couch these things in lesser terminology. It's a well written book. So, that's about all the farther I can go without spoilers. So, I'm going into spoilers now. You've been warned. This is your last chance. Stop the video. Turn back now. What have you. Okay, here we go. What's this book all about? So, Khan Jiyi, I've already forgotten it, Chistu, is trying to feel out the situation with the Jade Falcons to figure out what he's got left to work with, and it's not a lot. So he's already gone and tasked his second in command with trying to find people who have taken the test to be mech warriors but failed but were close. Give them a second chance. The people that look like they have promise. People in the I think it's pronounced Salama units, the older people that the Jade Falcons had kind of balled out, because that's what the clans do when you hit a certain age if you're still alive. Well, now you're like rear guard duty, things like that. But he realizes that he needs every person he can get, so he can't afford to just be like, well, you're too old. Like, no, you're going to get your chance to die in glorious battle, don't worry. So they start training new people. They have plenty of mechs to work with, because they have the factories on Sudatin, if nothing else. That's the capital. But then he gets word that one of the merchants with some of the treasure ships basically said, well, we're not going to be part of the Jade Falcons anymore. We're going to do things differently. While we value the warriors, they're not going to be running the show anymore because they got us to this situation. And she kind of like tries to pull the old reverse Uno card, like, you can join us. So that's probably not going to happen. But he also has one of the vault ships, and he trusts the woman who runs it, even though she's part of the merchant caste. And while he's gone at one point in the book, he leaves her in charge, which is very unusual, because usually he'd leave another warrior in charge. But there wasn't a high-ranking warrior enough that he trusted, so left her in charge. They get word, obviously the Jade Falcons lost on Terra, and they're of the impression that, like, none of them survived. Now, some of them did survive, but not very many. So you have that. Meanwhile, in the Rassilhag Dominion, the Ghost Bear Khans came back from Terra, from the ceremony to announce Alaric Ward as the new First Lord. And they were presented with a task. They had to explain that in the Rassilhag Dominion, they vote on things like important things. And so they have to vote on if they will join the new Star League that Alaric is trying to assemble. And they do vote. They do vote to join, but it's not a unanimous vote. It's very close. And Alaric, towards the end of the novel, sends word back that, like, no, it has to be unanimous, so he rejects their bid to join, which throws everything into upheaval. Because prior to that, like, our main Ghost Bear character, it's a Star Colonel, Emilio Hall, he voted not to join, but he also accepts that their way is to vote and that the other side had more votes, so that's what they're going to do, and so he's going to follow the will of the people and follow the vote. His second in command definitely voted to join, and well, let's just say by the end of the book I was really hoping she was going to die. So they the planet that they're on is near the border with the Falcon occupation zone, and they are hosting a series of games with several Sibcos worth of cadets. And so Khan Chistu decides that this is the way they're going to rebuild the Jade Falcons. And so he's going to go and take all the mechs that he can and all the pilots that he can and declare a trial of possession to try to take the cadets. But he knows that the Ghost Bears are likely just going to turn him down, so he has to have something else of value, something to try to entice them. And so he offers up that if he loses, they can have the vault ship that he has, Vault Ship Gamma, which is loaded with treasures and precious metals and everything else. And even though the Ghost Bears don't need any of that, to capture such a prize would be noteworthy. So Emilio Hall agrees to the fight. Now he's thinking that the Jade Falcons are going to fight the way they used to fight. Lightning strikes, lighter mechs, this, that, and the other. And so Khan Chistu knows that the Ghost Bears are slow to change. He knows how they're going to fight. And he knows that they're going to assume that they're fighting the Jade Falcons of old and not his new plan. So his plan is, instead of fighting with a bunch of lighter, fast mechs, everyone's going to be fighting in an assault mech that's just loaded to bear, no pun intended. And yeah, they're not going to be going for the way they fought. And real early on in the battle, they've already got a major upper hand because they just start smoking the Ghost Bear mechs because they're overwhelming firepower. So it does come down to a very close match where they're down to, their mechs are numbering in the teens and they're within one mech of each other. So Khan Chistu offers Emilio Hall a less destructive way and says, well, let's just fight one-on-one, me and you, for all the marbles. So they do, and Khan Chistu ends up winning the fight. And he had told Star Colonel Hall that at the end of that one of the conditions was he wasn't going to try to claim him as a bondsman. Now, for those of you who don't know how this works, when the clans, whenever they defeat people, if they consider them worthy opponents, they'll take them as bondsmen. So they'll literally take them into their clan. They have a bondsman cord, which basically means that they're the property, essentially, of the person that defeated them or that claimed them. And their goal is to get to the point where they are released from their bond and join the warrior caste of the other clan. So he told him, that I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to try to embarrass you here. We're going to stick with what the fight was supposed to be about. Now, the other Ghost Bears they defeated, they did claim as bondsmen. So he wins, and they start to take off with the cadets. Now, as all this is happening, we are also following the story of several of the cadets from one particular group, the ones that are native to the planet that this is taking place on. The main viewpoint character there is Alexis, and she's a freeborn. She's a freeborn, so she's naturally born. She's not from the Iron Wombs. And she's having this incredibly hard time because she's actually quite good. It's just that the woman who's overseeing their Sibco is, it's not racist, but she's bigoted towards freeborns because she's a trueborn, born from the Iron Wombs. She thinks that's the way the clan should be. So she constantly drags her down and constantly undercuts any achievements she makes and tries to keep promoting this other kid. And it's actually really, really crappy that she's doing that. The Ghost Bears do not come off looking good in this book, just overall. And which I understand because the book's about the Jade Falcons ultimately, but the Ghost Bears come across looking really bad here. So, but she's really upset that Star Colonel Hall is just going to let this whole thing happen. She's like, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to be a family. We're the Ghost Bears. You can't just let the Jade Falcons take us and become Jade Falcons. We don't want to be Jade Falcons. They're assholes. And so she tries to intervene, and that gets shot down, figuratively. Almost literally. But, so the Jade Falcons do win, and Khan Chistu does do his best to try to, soothe over the fact that they were Ghost Bears. And he's like, look, you've heard about how we used to operate. Well, Malvina Hazen is dead. We're not engaging in the mongrel doctrine anymore. And you will have the chance to reshape our clan. Since so many of our clan will now be former Ghost Bears, there's no way to escape the influence of Ghost Bear culture on our clan. Because there's just so many of you are Ghost Bears. And then he singles out Alexis. He'd singled her out because of her attempt to intervene. And he's like, that was bold. Reckless, but bold. That's what we need for our clan. That's the kind of thing that we want to encourage. Then he asks how many of them are trueborn. And that was the thing they'd worried about because the Jade Falcons are purists. And there was a star commander or star captain. Sorry, I don't remember her rank. Dawn, who she was one of the people that washed out, and they brought her back to attempt to win again, and she succeeded in the second round in the new round of testing. So now she's all about honor to the clan and everything like this. And when she told them, look, like, it doesn't matter that you're a freeborn, like, that doesn't matter to us anymore. We will treat you like a family. You are one of us. You're on the verge of graduating. You're ready to take your trials of position. I think it's position, but it's the trials that you take at the end of the Sibco training to see if you see how many kills you get. Determines if you pass and become a mech warrior, but then also a rank if you're going to have one out of the gate. And so the Khan's addressing all of them. And he tells them, you know, some of you might not make it, but you'll still be in the infantry. Like, you're still going to be a warrior. Like, you will be a fighter. And he's like, under the Ghost Bears, you know, the Ghost Bears don't fight many people anymore. He's like, when was the last time they fought anybody? He's like, there's no real chance for honor there, because for the clans, it's all about fighting and honor and death and all that. And he's like, don't worry, we'll be doing plenty of fighting. And he's not wrong, I'm sure. So then he asks how many of you are freeborns, and he sees that Alexis raises her hand, and he's like, you, Alexis, like, what's your last name? I can't remember what you said it was. And he's like, how would you like to be the founding member of a new blood name among the Jade Falcons? And he uses her last name, and he's like, and if you get to that moment, he's like, you'll forever be remembered because you will be the first one. You will be the founding member. He's like, you will be in the remembrance. And he's like, and this goes for all of you. And so that's a mighty prize among the clans. So, yeah. He definitely gives them the rousing speech, and they seem to go for it. So, I'm assuming that we're going to get follow-up in the... there's another book, I believe it's Without Question, that Bryan Young also wrote, which I think is supposed to be whenever the Hell's Horses try to invade Sudatin. So it should be after this, and I'm hoping that we see these other characters again, because I liked them all. Now, unfortunately, for the Ghost Bears, and for our good friend Emilio Hall over there, his second in command ultimately kills him. And not in a circle of equals or anything, she shoots him in the back. She is a traitor. She deserves to die. And I hope she does so, painfully. It's not often I get that way with fictional characters. Like, this one definitely did it for me. Just the constant haranguing about the vote, and because I'm one of those people that believes that, like, it's a secret ballot for a reason. If people want to talk about it, they can, but for people that don't want to talk about it, you know, don't pressure them to talking about it. There's a reason they don't want to talk about it, like, you know. So I have to imagine that there was some real world inspiration for the close vote that leads to some discord later on. So he thinks that she's going to fight him in a circle of equals because of taking the challenge, the trial to begin with, and then losing. So then he realizes this is about the vote, and she considers him a traitor. And he just can't imagine that, like, she's going to escalate. And so he walks away, and she shoots him in the back. So, and then orders the other Ghost Bears to try to stop the Jade Falcons from leaving. Even though the Jade Falcons did everything on the up and up, they fought with honor and everything. So she's clearly the lunatic that is dishonoring herself and her clan. And so they do escape, and then riots begin to break out. The military splits because some of them realize that she's gone loopy, and it ends with them infighting. And I know that gets kind of bad. So yeah, overall, like I said, like the book. No real complaints. Like, I don't want to complain about a villainous character that I disliked. I mean, you know, that's kind of the point. I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head. But yeah, and then, you know, just some stuff here, like it does have the IlClan symbol to tell you where it is in the timeline, and just like the others, here in the back there's a glossary. It's got some of the terms, and then several pages of drawings. Honor's Gauntlet was the other book. I should have flipped to the back here that Bryan Young wrote. It was pretty good. But yeah, so I am looking forward to reading Without Question. I am probably going to skip ahead a little bit because I did just get a couple other books. So now I've got like 8 or 9 books in the BattleTech backlog. And I haven't even touched any of the Shrapnel issues, and they're on issue 19. I've got the first 2. So, yeah, overall I like the book. I think it's definitely worth picking up. If you like the Jade Falcons, if you like the Ghost Bears, they kind of take it on the chin in this one. But it doesn't really involve wider sphere politics yet. It's setting up for a conflict between the Jade Falcons and is it the Malvina? No, what was it called? The merchant factor. I can't think of her name. That broke off. But she's got her own thing going on now. So they're another power out there, along with the Tamar Pact, the Vesper Marches, and then of course the Hell's Horses and the others that are there. So worth checking out. Fairly quick read once I got into it, and I am looking forward to the sequel. So, or the follow-up. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, overall, definitely a good book, worth checking out. So, let me know down in the comments if you read this one. Do you plan on picking this one up? Do you like Bryan Young's other books that are out? Anything like that? Are there any other books in specific you want me to look at? I'm just kind of going in the order I think they're interesting. I do skip ahead and behind sometimes. Like the next one, I can't think of the name of it, but it's dealing with the fallout of Alaric Ward becoming the IlClan. It just came out like a week ago, give or take, 2 weeks ago. So I bought it and Letter of the Law, which deals with House Merrick. So they'll probably be the next 2. Then I'll probably come back to Bryan Young and the Falcons here. So anyway, we always appreciate it if you folks like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. There will be an Amazon affiliate link if you're interested in picking up the book and want to go that route. There are obviously other ways to get a hold of it, and you can get it from the Catalyst website if you just want the PDF. Because as near as I can tell, they don't sell physical novels on there with a hand like the hardbacks they do, but like these, I think these are all print on demand. So at least that's the impression I'm under. So anyway, like I said, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But that's about all I got. So just remember, no guts, no galaxy.